Welcome and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Jain Irrigation Training Series. I'm your host, Richard Vestuccia, and today we're going to be talking about how to complete a Jain Logic seasonal tune-up. And why I think this is so important that we do this and why this is such an important topic to share with all of you today is because each year that we get through a season, we gain knowledge from the experience of being through that season. And so if we can combine this experience, add some data to it, and then fine tune what we have in the form of software that each one of you as users can fine tune, then we'll be in much better shape for the next season to even save more water, have some higher yields, and have a very successful season. So helping us through this today are two real pros when it comes to Jain Logic. Most of you have seen David Lindsay before and know David's been at Jain now for many years and has really been sick. I see his plaque up on his shelf behind him too. And so certainly has done an exceptional job in this AgTech arena and a strong focus on Jain Logic software. You know, if you've ever worked with him and needed some troubleshooting or some help, you know what an asset he's been in the past and is in the future. And I always love getting some extra training from Dave. So Dave, thank you for being here today and helping us out. And then our other presenter today, our other educator is Damian Jellin. Now, Damian's been at Jain now for, gosh, I think it's been a little over a year now, right, Damian?
Just under, we're almost there. We're almost at the year mark.
Yeah, so one thing's for sure is if you mention his name to anybody in the ag industry in the Central Valley, they certainly knew him. He has a great reputation when it comes to irrigation and water management. We certainly saw what he can do, and it was quite impressive with his water management consulting services that he supplied to many growers in the Central Valley last season. He's back this year using Jain Logic and helping a lot more growers this summer as well. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us today.
You're too kind.
So David, this is important, how to do a seasonal tune-up. How big is this, and then what should people be thinking about, coming into the season, right about this time?
It's huge. There's small, minute adjustments that need to be done every year. Again, I say this, I sound like a broken record. I apologize. We are working on automated solutions that will require you not to do this every year, especially on the coefficient curves. That's pretty straightforward. But little things like we're going to go over how to adjust the KCF factor for 2022. And I wrote that in there because it is a little different than it was last year. You don't delete the old one and create a new one. You actually leave the old one and create a new one. So you get historical records of coefficient curve, which is a positive. We're also going to go over the polygons and how to change them, potentially if you've got a building or something included in there, because there's a reason we need that out of there for applied water. And then how to modify the irrigation system data attributes. That's just taking a look at the field itself, the irrigation set that you've built or the customer's built, and making sure that the parameters are all correct, because that's also important. Data in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that's all right. And then the last one is how to adjust the root zone sums or averages. It's the same for both, however you choose to have your data displayed, whether it be a root zone average or a root zone sum. The demo I'm going to run, they use sum, so we'll leave it like that. And then Damian, I've asked him, to join us because he is the subject matter expert when it comes to our WMS. And this is where I need, as a team, I need him to help me out because he utilizes all of this. And he'll touch on exactly why it's important from the standard Jain Logic user, and then why he uses it in his WMS calculations for his irrigation, his recommendations. There they are. That's
yeah. So David, just a couple of things I want to mention to everybody who's watching. You're going to be doing a lot of live demoing on the software. And I want to be sure that everybody knows we've got the Q&A and the chat open. And if you'll, as you have questions, if you'll drop them into the Q&A or the chat, if you have comments, I'll be relaying those. We want to keep this as interactive as possible. And then the other thing is we're rewarding people with questions with some really nice Jain gear. So we've got shirts and hats and sometimes some vests. So put your questions in there for David or Damian as we're going. And not only will you get a good answer, but you'll get rewarded too.
Nice. All right. All right. So I'm going to go to the live demo. I hope you can see my screen there, or did it go?
Yeah, it looks just great.
Okay. So this customer, they've been customers for, I think, about 5 years now. It's a fully automated system. We're on 100 acres. We're monitoring 4 blocks or 4 irrigation sets. And the customer came to me with a question at the beginning of the year, and it fit right in here. So I'm going to kind of go over what we did to rectify his issue. First thing he discovered in his root folder, when he selects here, he goes to his scheduler, and I'm streaming, and I'm also, some of these blocks are not going to fill right away because I'm over using my bandwidth at home probably, but I'm going to open the scheduler here, and we're going to take a look and see, based on predicted the forecasted hours, that's his question right there. And there's literally a question mark there. And he's like, well, what's causing that? So we're going to solve that problem right now. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the actual field itself.
So David, where would he see that question mark originally though? So when he logs on, where would he see that?
That's in his schedule. Irrigation Scheduler. It's one of your
Right.
widgets on your main page. If you hit details, it brings up the actual scheduler, which we've covered in other webinars, allows you to, schedule your irrigation events for the week. You can submit this, you can print it, you can email it. You can copy from different weeks. If you did something last year and you liked it, you can run it again here too. This isn't the automation side. This is just the scheduler itself. You'll also see in here that the ET forecast is predicted right here. So if all your parameters are set correctly, there should be numbers in here. You see he has one field 48.3 hours, one's at 51.6, another one at 51.6, and then this one's showing a question mark. So that's what drew his attention.
Okay. And you recommend that people hit that irrigation scheduler first thing most days, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're writing a schedule on a piece of paper still nowadays, you're way behind. If you're doing it in Excel, that's great. It's better. You can share, you can edit, you can save, but you can do all that right in Jain Logic as well.
Yeah. Okay, great.
We
Yeah.
encourage that because then I can see what you were planning to do and then what was scheduled. And Damian, I'm not sure if you use it on the WMS side.
Yeah, so actually, this is a great start because this is where I start my day. When I write recommendations, we usually do it on Friday for the week out. I take a look at this first. That way I can see roughly how many hours do I need to have as a baseline. This is the baseline for my ETC, which is ETO and KC values. So I can take this and look at it and say, okay, how many inches do I need to apply? Luckily for me, Jain Logic does an excellent job on how to display the conversion of inches to hours. So here you see on the forecasted hours, it's saying, okay, 48.3 hours for the block 1. So I take that and I see, how do I want to break this up? I take that before I start doing any math and looking at soil moisture.
All right, excellent. So again, as a user, which you're acting as, it's important.
Yes.
So let's get that fixed. So I'm going to select the actual field itself that the user or we, the account managers, that have created for the user. And I'm going to go into the tool set, which is the configuration. And you see the orange line at the top gives you a big visual that, hey, I'm in the configuration area. And then I'm going to go right to my growth crop curve, or crop growth curve. And I can see there's not one even in here. So that might be what caused it. So let's go ahead and add one. This is almonds. So I'm going to use the Sandine. I'm going to select January 1st as my start date for 2022. It's going to populate the end date because it's calendar. And even on the other curves, it knows. And then it displays the curve here. And I'm going to hit save. And it's there and it shows it's current. And that's what I'm looking for. Because when you have multiples in here, you'll see which one's current. And that's the one that's driving the KC factor. Other elements that are in there, I didn't cover. I should have. The environmental factor is obviously a 1. These are fully producing trees. Depending on the lifespan or that time frame, you can break that down into a percentage or points, 0.01 or 0.1 or 0.5 as the trees grow or as the crop grows. So I'm going to go ahead and hit, I saved that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if that made any changes real quick. I have a feeling that it probably did not. Oh, it moved my window though. Hold on a second.
And so David, this is really something somebody should be doing for all of their blocks. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I still got a question mark there. That could be a multitude of reasons. One could be there's a batch program that runs in the background that when you make these changes, they don't happen automatically. Usually a warning pops up that tells you that it might not display for up to 20 minutes. I didn't see that warning, or I might have just blown through it because I'm used to seeing it. So I apologize there.
Check the irrigation emission devices.
Check the, oh, good. Ah, see, look at this guy. Let's see so that would be the next subject. Let's look at the irrigation system. These would be the attributes. A little out of order, but that's okay. I do have an irrigation indicator device selected. We are drip compensated. Our application rate is wrong. That was it's a 0.03. Uniformity is at 85%, and that's based on the age of it, not an actual DU test. This is more accurate when we're a WMS because Damien drags us all out there to do a DU test of the field prior to taking on the customer. And then the start date is when the irrigation system was put in. So this was put in at the same time as the trees.
So, we already have our first question here. And the question is, does the system use your application rate? And I think we saw from that last screen, it does, right? This is something you program in.
Right, absolutely. It's a critical number because based on the acreage that's drawn in the polygon, we know infiltration rate, or we know the application rate based on that data right there. So runtime plus that application rate gives us total application applied water, which would segue into the next section. Unless Damien, you got something to add on the irrigation system itself.
Yeah, so to answer back to that question, yes, the system does take the application rate of the emission device into consideration, because what it does is all this math for inch water applied is all in inches. And what it does is, we don't have time to sit here and do the math and figure it out. The system actually takes the time for you and converts all of your inches to hours for your applications.
Wow. And so, and if I don't know my application rate, how do I find that out?
You can call one of us or your irrigation designer, and what we'll end up doing is we'll look into the emission device and we can see what the application rate is based off of flow rate, spacings, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that information is readily available. It's not going to be hard to find or anything.
No, not at all.
Yeah, most designs you see for the irrigation system have the applicator inch per hour rate on the design itself, which is very convenient. You don't have to convert it. So then we briefly touched on the polygon itself, and that's important as well. And because I mentioned that it calculates the total acreage of the field. And I noticed something when we were looking at this field a minute ago, that there's actually a house and a road included in here. I could change the polygon to get rid of that road, but I don't think for this application it's that big of a deal. But I want to take out that house right there. There's a lot of property right there that's not technically being irrigated. So to do that, I'm in the same configuration area under the general tab. I hit the start editing, I hit the edit button, and it draws all these little dots, which are super convenient because now all I got to do is grab one of those dots, left click on it, drag it over to the edge of the, let's say the house property there. Sorry, I got off there. Zoom in a little. And then I'm going to grab this dot. And
So it's not really that different than any photo editing software I have. I mean, it's just trying to get the lines in the right spot.
Yes, sir. Google Earth. That's, you know, I mean, everybody's doing it like this now, right? Literally, these are GPS pin drops, and you're dropping them. If I can get it on there, good Lord. Sorry, I'm trying to get it as accurate as possible, but I'm using a trackball.
You're shaking today, I think. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. And the reason we do this is because there's no really square or perfectly rectangle fields out there, right?
Right, exactly. And you could literally go through the process and draw out the road too, which in some applications, we have customers that request that, you know, I don't have a problem doing it. You can break the polygon. You could draw a little road in between her to keep it as one solid set. There's a lot of different things you can do to omit parts of the field that you don't want calculated in to your total acreage. And you saw that the total acreage went from, I think it was 24.5 something to 24.46. So we decreased a little bit, which does make a difference. I mean, every drop counts, right? So then I hit stop, it locks it in, and then hit save. And now the polygon has been edited, and you can actually see it even from a higher view that it's done. There we go.
Yeah.
Now, after we did all that little tune up there, you know, I like to just pass through them again, make sure my crop data looks good. Yeah, the trees are still in. The irrigation system, all the changes I made saved. They did. The KC factor is in, it's current. The manager tab is more for the power users. You can assign individuals that would manage, let's say, this farm or this block. And what it does, it allows us to quick reference who's responsible for that area. And then it also allows us to send reports, auto-generated reports directly to them. So it helps us ID who's responsible for that area. But most growers, it's the same person for the same farm, so you won't see anybody added in here.
So you've got some nice options there.
You do, yeah. So well, I don't even have to save, I already saved it. So let's go in and take a look and see if if we've seen any changes. I'm going to go back to my root folder here. I'm going to click my scheduler again. And we still have a question mark. Now, I guarantee you that's because, again, the batch program that has to run in the back, it's probably not going to run till 12:30. And so maybe we should have started at 12:15 and gone to 12:45. So maybe not the best example, but I can assure you that this number is probably going to be close to one of these two right here as well. Problem with doing a live demo sometimes. And then I think we skipped a step, Damien. What did I skip? We were something else we were going to talk about in here. I got the PowerPoint right here. What we didn't cover, the attributes. Oh, the root zone sum average. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. As the trees grow, the roots go deeper. You know, you might want to make some changes. And I think I noticed with this customer, we had a difference. There was a note in the timeline. Yep, right here. No, that's 2 years ago. That's not the site. There was one. Let me see if I can find it. I apologize. Maybe it was on this same one. Nope, not there.
So Dave, you're going to take us through here how to actually adjust for the root depth, right?
Yep.
Because as the trees mature and grow, the root depths change and up to a point, right? At some point they hit maturity, but this is something you can adjust. And this is important because, again, you don't want to be watering past the root zone. You don't want to be pushing nutrients past the root zone.
Absolutely, right. There was the note I left was on 4/12/22. The grower wanted me to set his lower boundary at that date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually graph this site. And I'm looking, so he's got a root zone sum of 12 to 36 inches. He didn't want to change that, but he wanted me to focus on a specific date. Turn some of these off. We don't need them all on. And in order to do that, you hit this little, I think it's called an ampersand, these 3 little dots right here. And I am slowing down a little bit on bandwidth. There we go. And I believe the date I said that was on there was April 12th. So I'm going to just put that in there. It'll start my calendar there. So he wanted this lower limit right in, here we go. It's March. There's the 12th right there. So he wants me to set his lower dry boundary at 209.08. So I'm going to set it there. And we see the immediate change. The red line down here, which is dry, actually dropped a little. Now he's a little dry right now. I'll let Damian elaborate on what we're going to do for this customer out here, because he does have some infiltration issues. I get to hit save first, get it out of there. But that's it. It was as easy as that, as adjusting a lower boundary. The upper boundary was there as well. If he would have requested a change there, I would have done it. But again, this is something the grower usually does himself. In this case, it's a new user. And I'm spoon feeding him through it, because that's what we do. I want to make sure he understands. These webinars definitely don't put out enough information. I don't have enough time. I have 2 Zoom meetings already scheduled after this, consulting customers on making these exact adjustments.
And this is a great reminder, right? You're available to do that with anybody.
Yes.
That's a Jain Logic user, or somebody interested in using it, how they might do this and see how easy it can be. You're available for that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and we, in water management services, we take the time to understand what MUs mean, because every field's so different. We have to take the time to actually auger down, check the soil moisture with a hand field method test. So that way we can understand what MU means in that field off the probe data. Every season, when we come into it, beginning of an irrigation session, I go out there and we figure out where we're at compared to the MU chart and understand what it means. Then I come back to the office and I sit down and say, okay, we were at 65% moisture out there and we were at 46 MUs at the depth. I take that time and say, okay, the age of the crop is 3 years. So our depth is probably around 28 inches to 18 inches. That's the root zone we're going to tackle as we go into that season. I take that time to make these adjustments so that way we can irrigate precisely. With row crops, it's a little different, so in the permanent crops, we can come in and do this once a year. With the row crops, we have to do this throughout the season. Tomato crops, if irrigated professionally, we will go down to the maximum of probably 24 to 28 inches within the 140-day variety. So we have to do this throughout the season, which isn't a big deal. You'll see as the roots grow where the roots are pulling from. As water managers, this sounds like a complicated process, but it's not, and we're here to help you guys and get it through. We are the irrigation professionals, and we do have the best software out there to do this.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, Damian. A couple things, right? You've got the tools that not everybody has, and that's a great thing. Plus the experience. You've been doing this for a while. You're doing this for a lot of people, so other growers should take advantage of that.
Yep, absolutely. I know in AgTech it seems like it's kind of complicated to use, but it's kind of like a rabbit hole. As you go down farther, we see more and more agronomic benefits to the growers. But even if you're just starting out, it's really easy. It's easy to grab onto, and we're here to help you.
Yeah, so this whole idea of the water management consulting services started really a year ago, Damian, and I liked it because it was a way to get some help learning this technology, right? Every time I see these screenshots, sometimes I think, oh my gosh, that's something new I hadn't seen before. So this allows a grower to really sit side by side with you, or at least share a screen with you, and really get coached on this as the season goes on.
Yeah, and it's just like a teaching method, right? We're not here to, take the job from you. We're here to help you and kind of guide you through it and teach you how to irrigate, with little water, or, be more proficient with it and grow yields.
Yeah, I think that's so valuable, because I know whenever I'm learning, any kind of technology or a new spreadsheet or a new email system, right? I always have to, I got to be in the right mood to do it, right? I have to feel like I have the time and the energy, because I know it's going to be frustrating. So anytime I can just have somebody helping me, showing me the way through, that I'm not having to search for answers, man, that just accelerates the learning process about tenfold.
Absolutely.
So, well, as we get into the season, David, Lindsay, I see we're going to be adjusting our polygons as well as our root depths. Anything else that you think users should be really focused on at the beginning?
We are, obviously utilizing the infiltration widget, which is one of our talking points, because we are going into this particular field because he's got compaction. Damien and Corey know way more about the chemical additives that we've been talking about. If you guys want to touch on that, I'm anxious to see what the data looks like.
Yeah, so we actually, with this one, we're having a penetration issue. He's running long sets hours, and we're really not penetrating very deep.
Yeah.
So we're going to be using one of our chemicals that we've started working with out there. We're going to apply it at a small rate, and it's going to improve the penetration. We should be able to see going from probably a 1/2 inch an hour down to, we'll get up to about 1.5 inches an hour. So we'll actually get good penetration and water quality back into the soil.
And just for reference, I brought up the infiltration widget for this exact field. This is going to be one of our comparison. We're not going to apply it on this field. We are going to apply it on 2 of the other blocks. So that way we have a compare and contrast. I'm excited about it because, as you can even see here, these are 12-hour sets. He's not quite getting to his root zone there. He's getting at the top of it, but we're not saturating the root zone like we'd like to see. So this will be very, very interesting. So stay tuned.
Yeah. So this is exciting, right? This is Mike Terry from Precision Labs. He was a guest on a couple months ago. I know he's got a great trial offer right now. If you've got 500 acres or more, I know he's trialing like 50 acres at a time, or so, that's pretty close to accurate. Anyway, this will be exciting to see what happens after next week.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I'm excited to give it a shot and see if we can fix this solution for this, or find a solution for this grower.
Yeah, because that's pretty shallow for 12 hours of irrigation. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's one of the better fields.
Yeah. So, well, guys, thanks so much. This was really helpful. Love always getting the updates and the reminders on how to do these things. Again, taking our experience in the field, adding it to the data, makes us very powerful software. So you had your information up there. It's okay for people to reach out to you anytime they need it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And thank you, viewers, for joining us today. I want to say, remember, all of our trainings you can find at janesusa.com/trainings. There's about 180 of them in there now, and enjoy those for free. You can learn, or the other thing that I see that I really appreciate is people are listening on the podcast. As they're working, they're educating. It makes me hopeful for sustainability and conservation in the future. So thanks for that. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.